Probably should have done that, bro. Let's watch that bird on the ceiling, up at the top there. Let's see. Oh man, that hurts. Oh dude, she did not make it. $900,000? Nah. We just broke a mill, y'all. Over $1 million per tick of burn. Bitch. She fucked up. See, she should have left it well enough alone. Now she's done. Yep. Let's see if this will do it. Oh. I hit the wrong guy. Look how long that burn is, though. Look at that. It's still burning. What's up, agents? Hope you guys are all doing extremely well. We're looking at the last week of Season 4 right now. I decided that I want to go ahead and revisit the status builds. Since the Eclipse Protocol came out, that's pretty much been the flagship build for almost every status effect build in the game currently. There's some other iterations. What I want to do today is revisit the status effects. I want to revisit the different talents we can use on the chest and the backpack. And I want to look at what other sort of viable builds there are for endgame content. I quickly want to thank all you guys who have subscribed. I just reached over 300 subscribers. It's not a big deal to most of you guys, but it is a big deal to me. I don't do anything to promote my channel. So it's all because of you guys sharing this content, getting involved, commenting, and just contributing to this, telling me what you like, what you don't like. I've been on the fence of whether I want to create these long in-depth videos like I've been doing or truncate it a bit, do shorter videos. And you guys, the majority of people who've commented said that they like the longer videos. You guys like more details. You guys like the timestamps and the ability to go and really get in depth into certain areas of this game. So I'm going to continue to try to do that, and I just want to thank you guys for your feedback on that. Without further ado, let's get into quite a few different variations on how you can run status effect builds. All right, boys and girls. So for the testing of this, I'm going to be using the Technician. However, this is not the best specialization you can run. However, you do have to have very specific pieces, drop very specific way to run the firewall. So Technician is what most of you will run until you get the perfect gear. This gives us the Amp +1 skill tier. This allows us to run either one weapon core or one armor core instead of having to run all 6 skill utilities. EMP grenade can be cool, and you can use this to shut down robotics and other proxies. We got the Maxim 9 that comes with the perfect spike if you want to do that. Here's another big one, the Faraday field. Since in most of the iterations of this build, we're going to be using the Stinger Hive, both as offensive and a defensive weapon. The Faraday field, while we are within 5 meters of our hive, we will not be able to be disrupted or shocked. So this is a saving grace in some ways. And not a big deal, but you also get access to the link laser pointer, so you can pulse targets that you aim with, provided the weapon that you're using is able to take the link laser pointer. The best specialization that you can run, if you have the gear to do it, is to simply run the firewall. This will give us plus 20% burn duration, so whether you're using the Imperial Dynasty or a skill that spreads fire, this will add the additional burn duration to that. You get the cluster grenade. We do get the flamethrower as a special weapon, and of course, so this will also spread status effects around and is a pretty decent weapon. We get access to the Striker Shield, which we will not be using. This is a very interesting one. The Fire Starter sawed-off shotgun. We'll quickly touch base on this in a moment. Armor Break applies a burn to enemies within 5 meters. This, of course, can save your ass. And you get plus 30% bonus armor doing cover-to-cover moves. And there's a lot of times, you guys know, you'll be doing your cover-to-cover and you're taking bullets for seemingly no reason. This helps to mitigate that. All right, so run the firewall if you are able to get the perfect gear. Otherwise, run the Technician. All right, agents. Next, we're going to go over the gear set. and the brand sets you can use, as well as the chest and backpack talents. So first, I'm going to quickly go over the Eclipse Protocol. So the Eclipse Protocol gear set is one that provides status effects plus 15% if you have the 2 pieces. 3 pieces gives us plus 15% skill haste and plus 30% hazard protection. And the biggest reason to run the 4-piece Eclipse Protocol is the indirect transmission. Your status effects now spread on kill to all enemies within 10 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. And to note, that adds 50% of the duration. That's not the total duration. It adds 50% of the duration that was left on that enemy to all the other enemies. Let's say you have 10 seconds worth of burn on an enemy that it dies. It will spread 5 seconds worth of burn to all the enemies within 10 meters. All right. Now, this can be buffed through the use of the chest piece. Proliferation increases indirect transmission range from 10 to 15 meters. Since we're talking about a radius, that extra 5 meters basically doubles the area that you are able to proc that indirect transmission. That refresh percent, 50 to 75%, is huge. And you got to remember, that's only the remaining duration, but this means that it is actually significantly more effective to use the chest piece. And I will recommend that if you are going to be running the actual 4-piece, that you do run the chest piece. But depending on the gear you have and stuff, there are other iterations you can run. So you are going to want status effects on every piece of your Eclipse Protocol. We are going to run skill haste mods in every position. The backpack talent is System Aggravator. Amplifies all damage you deal to status affected targets by 30%. And while that is a significant amount of damage, that's a multiplier. So everything, all the damage you do is multiplied by 1.3. It tends to be overkill considering there's a lot of other ways that we can benefit this build. And when it comes to the backpack, I tend to prefer running the high-end talents. One in particular, which is the Creeping Death. We'll get into that more in a minute. Next, we'll talk about exotics. One is the Imperial Dynasty, Dragon's Glare. While in combat, applies burn to an enemy closest to you within 20 meters. This has a cooldown of 35 seconds. Now, it should be noted that Creeping Death does cause this to spread to all the targets around. So what you can do is run up on a group of unsuspecting enemies. If you run towards the center of the group, this should start all the enemies around burning. So this is one way you can get a tactical advantage. However, I do not recommend running up on a group of enemies with this build, particularly if you are using the glass cannon variation. The other exotic worth mentioning for this build is the Vial, which is an exotic mask. This has a talent Toxic Delivery. Status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. Total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increases by your status effect attributes. While this seems cool and it is effective, I find that I don't actually push enough explosive damage into the build to get my concussion grenade damage up to the point where it actually matters. We have so many better ways of doing that type of damage in a much faster way. So the Vial is cool. Oh, and also the Vial is, notice it's a debuff. Notice the Toxic Delivery is a debuff. So that damage does not actually get amplified in any ways by our status effects. This does nothing. The status effects does not extend the duration. It's only 10 seconds. So this really does very little to help amplify the damage of the build. All right, now we'll quickly talk about the brand sets you can use. There's 2 brand sets I find really help. The first one is the GL, because you only need 1 piece. So the Golden Gear gives you plus 10% status effects. Another good one is to run the Wyvern Wear, which the 1 piece gives us plus 10% skill damage. The second piece of Wyvern Wear, that will give us plus 10% status effects right there. So by using 3 pieces, 1 GL and 2 Wyvern, we can get ourselves plus 10% skill damage and plus 20% status effects without even looking at any of the attributes. Another brand set to note is Murakami Industries. The 1 piece adds plus 20% skill duration. And here's a weird caveat. The gear mods that add skill duration do not affect the damage over time duration in any way. And I'm not sure why, but the actual brand set skill durations do. You can use the brand sets to buff the duration of your damage over time, but you cannot do it with the gear mods. One other thing you could do is use some China Light if you want to add some explosive damage, but there are none of these skills that actually explosive damage adds to the damage over time. Alright, lastly, we're going to get into the different talents that we could use for the chest and the backpack. So one of my favorite talents for status effect builds is Glass Cannon. While we do take 50% more damage, we deal amplified damage, that's multiplicative, a 1.25 multiplier on all damage we do. So this is one of the talents that directly affects all of the damage over time. And at the higher end builds, we're talking about the difference between, am I doing 500,000 damage per tick, or am I doing 630,000 per tick? So all of a sudden, this talent right here can be a substantial difference with the amount of damage you do. However, this is a very specific playstyle, and you have to be very careful while playing with Glass Cannon. Skilled is an interesting talent you can use, as depending on what skills you're using, how your cooldowns are, this can be used to perpetually reset your skills. So definitely something to look at. There's also Overwatch. You can use this to buff your own and your team's damage. Staying in cover for 10 seconds increases the weapon and skill damage. Spotter is another viable perk, since most of these variations, unless you have the perfect gear, you will be running with the Technician, which gives you access to the Link Laser Pointer, so you can pulse targets by simply aiming at them. And Spotter will then cause you to do and this is multiplicative damage. So much like Glass Cannon, this is a 1.15 multiplier to your weapon damage and your skill damage that actually amplifies the damage over time. And lastly, I will mention kinetic momentum. However, you're using skills so often, you really don't get a chance to stack up all of these stacks, and it's just not worth it overall. If you want to get damage bonuses, there's a lot easier ways of doing it. Then the backpack. I'll just start with what I think is hands down the best talent for a skill build, and that is Creeping Death. When you apply a status effect, it also applies to all targets within 8 meters of your target, with a cooldown of only 15 seconds. So what this means is whatever I do to proc a status effect, it will spread to everybody around that area. So I use Creeping Death to get the initial spread. Many times that will kill everybody outright. But if it doesn't, the first guy that dies, and this is why I recommend if you guys are going to start shooting, shoot at the red bar, shoot at whatever the weakest enemy is, kill them to then proc the indirect transmission, which will then spread those remaining status effects around to everybody within either 10 meters or 15 meters, depending on whether you're using the proliferation chest piece. Another backpack talent that can work extremely well, especially for your group, if you are running any status effects that cause blind, ensnare, confuse, or shock, you can use Galvanize. And that means any of your allies that are within 20 meters of an enemy that is afflicted by one of those 4 status effects, they will gain 40% of our bonus armor, or of our armor as bonus armor. So right now we're at 815, so they get about 350,000 bonus armor for 10 seconds. So this is a defensive trait that you can use to help defend yourself as well as your teammates. And if you're running Glass Cannon, this can be a saving grace. I tend to prefer the Creeping Death, as I've mentioned, but this is definitely a viable build, definitely a viable talent, and this is one that I use in my full support build. I have a status effect support build. That's what I will use. Now, another one you can use is Tech Support. Tech Support's cool because as soon as you get the skill kill, it will increase your skill damage by 25% for 20 seconds. So this is very easy. It's a fire and forget. You get that first kill and you got 20 seconds. You don't have to worry about it. You get that bonus damage. The downside to Tech Support is it is skill damage, so it does not contribute to the damage over time. You can use something like Perfect Combined Arms. This is 30% skill damage. Again, a great perk. I'm going to quickly check our recal station to see if there's any talents that I missed. Let's see. Is there Explosive Delivery? I mean, that's cool, but not really necessary with what we're doing. Unbreakable could save your ass. Trauma. I forgot to mention Trauma. Trauma seems kind of cool. You know, it's another status effect. We can apply the blind or bleed, but the damage the bleed does is nominal. It's so low. The blind, unless you have the Creeping Death or that you spread it via the indirect transmission, that blind is pretty much ineffective. Everything that you can do with trauma, you can do easier using the skill and have a better chest talent. So if you have a great piece of gear, and it has trauma on it, you can use it, but I highly recommend a better talent on the chest. And let's look at the backpack talents. So we talked about combined arms, we talked about tech support. Shock and Awe is an interesting one. Applying a status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20%. You could do something like Bloodsucker. This every kill you get will add 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds. It stacks up to 10. You will get a bunch of these kills, and oftentimes you'll get 3, 4, 5 kills in a row. So imagine all of a sudden getting a stack of 50% bonus armor. So this can be cool. Again, does not add to the build directly, however. Wicked, applying a status effect increases total damage by 18% for 20 seconds. So this is not going to help us with our direct damage output, but it can help with the weapon damage output. And if you add this with something like the Grudge named Banshee SMG, this thing will actually, it allows you to put up substantial weapon damage while running a status effect build. And that's pretty much it. Alright, agents, next we'll talk about the skills that we can use. It's status effect build. Obviously, there's a lot of these skills that apply status effects, and really, you got to build how you want to. The one main thing that I'm doing this time is we are focusing around the burn sticky bomb. I'm trying to get used to using this bad boy. The other thing I use in every variation of this build is the Stinger Hive. One, because it has a very fast refill speed, so it's very rare that I don't have it available. It applies bleed, and I can use this to provide a Faraday field with the Technician for myself and my allies. So the Hive works in a lot of capacities. Let's go over the other skills that you may use with this, however. We went over the burn. So EMP, you can use this to spread a disrupt around. The shock trap is amazing, and if you guys have looked at any of my previous Eclipse Protocol builds, most of them are based on using the shock trap and the Hive. The shrapnel trap works amazing with this build and applies a bleed. The new Achilles Pulse. This cannot be spread to multiple targets. This is only a single target skill. So do not think that you're going to put on Creeping Death or Indirect Transmission and spread this around. It will not work. Turrets, of course, we can buff the Incinerator turrets burn. Both the Fire Starter and the Riot Foam Chem Launcher benefit from the status effects. The Riot Foam will last substantially longer, and the Fire Starter would both last longer and burn for substantially more damage. The Blinder Firefly will benefit from both the Creeping Death talent as well as the Indirect Transmission. Both the Explosive and the Airburst Seeker Mine benefit from the status effects. Alright, agents, so those are all the different skills that you can use. Not all skills are created equal, and there's definitely some skills and skill combinations that will work better than others, but you have to adapt and build something based on your own playstyle. Alright, let's get into the weapons. Alright, agents, now we're going to get into the different weapons that you can use to affect in the status effect builds. First thing we'll do is talk about the Scorpio Exotic. And this guy, this is an amazing weapon. This weapon fires debilitating venomous rounds inspired by the Scorpion. Alright, so this shotgun has damage to armor and crit hit chance on it. And the main reason why we're using it, the main thing we're using this for is Septic Shock. Shooting a target applies stacks of venom, which lasts for 10 seconds. Increasing stacks adds more severe debuffs to the target. 1 stack adds poison, 3 stacks adds disorient, 6 adds shock, and the 7th, targets take additional 20% damage from all sources. Stacks no longer increase. Duration of the status effects is based on the percentage of pellets hit on applying shot. Check this out. It says you have to apply all 7. You have to get 7 stacks to get the targets taking the additional 20% damage. Well, there we go. Now the damage is back down once the buff goes away. As far as exotics, you can use the capacitor. This will allow you to do substantially more weapon damage since we are stacking skill tier, as well as adding a substantial amount of skill damage. One thing to note, the Pestilence, Plague of Outcasts, is a debuff, not a status effect, so you will not get any sort of benefits from running this on a status effect build. In fact, because you're running skill utility tiers instead of weapon damage, you will be hindering the amount of damage it does, because this is all based on weapon damage. Alright, now we're going to get into the normal high-end and name gear. Probably the best weapon to get the maximum damage out of your build is going to be the Everlasting Gaze. In fact, one of the best things you can do as far as a combination, check this out. I'll see if I can do this real quick. So we do that. So I switch back, Perpetuation's on cooldown again, right? But we're doing all that bonus damage. Alright, so that's the ideal way to do it. Hit him with the headshot for perfect Perpetuation, and if you get lucky, this will hang around. And if you don't change your weapon, say you get a headshot on any random enemy at the end of a battle, and you have that in your buff bar, as long as you don't switch weapons, you can run around in the open world or in the mission to the next areas, and that perfect Perpetuation will be there. So you get up to the next encounter, just get a nice shot, fire it, you immediately are doing that 50% bonus damage and have that 50% duration. This is hands down the best weapon talent for a status effect build, in my opinion. Alright, so the other thing we got, there's two different options that I really like for the sidearm, and that's, I'm using the backup boomstick with Future Perfect. So this will allow me to proc and overcharge. Alright, so this is the only method I have of proccing overcharge. However, I want to point out, if you are running the Firewall Specialization, you will get access to the Fire Started, and this guy has primer rounds. Damaged enemies lose 50% burn resistance for 5 seconds. So this can also be used in conjunction. So imagine this one. Imagine you take your shot with the Everlasting Gaze. You get the perfect Perpetuation. You fire your sticky bomb so they start burning. While they're burning, you then whip out your Fire Starter. You shoot them. So now they lose 50% of their burn resistance. So they're effectively taking 50% more damage. You proc that for 5 seconds, and then you switch over to your Scorpio, you hit them, and now they're taking 20% amplified damage from all sources on top of that. I know it's a lot to try to do if you want to try to make that happen effectively. It's not going to happen very often. But the idea that you can maximize your damage doing that is kind of nice to know that there's a playstyle that you can really use to decimate. Alright, now let's get into the others. You can use the Harmony. This will give you the Perfectly in Sync. This will add a bunch of damage. You got the Surge with the Perfect Spike. As we mentioned about with Future Perfect, you can use this to proc yourself an overcharge. Once every 90 seconds, you can get a 15-second overcharge. You can run the Pyromaniac if you want to run additional burning. This also does plus 25% bonus damage to burning enemies. Since you will be catching dudes on fire all the time, you can use this to kill dudes significantly faster. Another thing you could do is run the Grudge, which comes with Perfect Vindictive. Killing an enemy with the status effect applied grants you and all allies within 20 meters 18% crit hit chance and crit hit damage. So if you're running in a group, this is one of the ways that you can actually buff your team's DPS substantially, as well as your own. I mean, hell, even if the guys already have maxed out 60% crit hit chance, who is not going to want 18% additional crit hit damage? So that's pretty awesome. Here's a silly one, the Slayer. If you want, you can use this to pass Confuse around to guys, but this is a terrible weapon. It's just terrible. You can use the Carnage and Perfect Sadist for bonus damage to bleeding enemies and will cause enemies to bleed. And this is actually a great weapon to take down the heavies, the Juggernauts and the tanks, because you get them bleeding, and this can just put in a lot of damage real quick. You can use the Mob for the armor on kill if you want. This can be good with the Glass Cannon build. If you don't have any healing, you take a lot of damage, you get behind cover, let your damage over time kill the guys, and each kill will give you 10% of your armor back, even if it's the status effect that gets the kill. Eyeless, if you're using the Blinder Firefly, this might be something that you would choose to use. And that's pretty much it for the weapons. Alright, agents, so that covers our weapons, our gear, our talents, our skills. All that's left is to show a couple different build variations and then go show how it does damage-wise. See how it actually works in real gameplay. So you guys know a lot of builds look great on paper. You get out there, you try them, and they're shite. So let's get into 3 different build variations that I'm working with. And of course, you guys can tweak these to your liking and your play style. I don't want to make this video too long, but there are 3 build variations that I think are totally viable, and I think you guys should check out if you are looking at delving into status effects. Here we go. We're using 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol. We are using the Dragon's Glare, and we are using a Goland Creeping Death backpack. So the whole idea behind this build is that we initially spread our status effect via the Creeping Death around. The Eclipse Protocol will then help upon death to apply those status effects around. We're using the same weapons for every one of these builds: the Scorpio, the Everlasting Gaze, and the backup boomstick. And just to show you what we're looking at, Stinger Hive in this iteration is putting out 776,000 with the initial, and the base bleed is 61,000. And our Sticky Bomb has a base burn of 1.3. We'll round up to 1.3 million damage.
Complete.
That's what we were looking for right there. Look at that, guys. Yeah. That's the chain reaction we're talking about right there. You guys can have this one. You're going to start a chain reaction bit. Keep your head up again, dude. Yeah, buddy. You just fucked your whole team. Look at you. What a dick. You totally fucked his whole team over right there with that one.
Move in! Covering you! Shot!
Yeah, you're fucked.
It's all 3 priority targets, down for the count.
Next, we're going to go ahead and look at what my Hexotic version of the status effects builds are. And we are using 2 pieces of Eclipse Protocol. And the reason why is each piece we have status effect as an attribute, but the 2 piece gives us an additional 15% status effects. So between these 2 pieces of gear, we're actually able to squeeze out 35% bonus status effects. We are then going ahead and using the same Golem Creeping Death backpack to spread the initial burn. Unfortunately, since we're not using the 4-piece, we do not have the indirect transmission. So we have to physically spread this burn around to all the enemies ourselves. We are using 3 pieces of Wyvern for the skill damage, for the status effects, and for the 20% skill duration. And as we covered, the brand set skill duration does add to the damage over time duration. Glass Cannon will add a 25% multiplicative damage multiplier to all of our skills and our damage over time. And then both of our pieces, the knees and the holster, we have status effect and skill damage on both of these pieces. In this iteration, see our Stinger has 992,000 initial blast and 73,000 as the base damage. And our Sticky Bomb does almost 1.7 million as the base damage on it. So this is the highest actual damage numbers that you will put out. However, due to the fact that it does not spread the status effects on death, is a hindrance and makes it so this ultimately is not the best version of the build. Alright, agents, this might be a terrible idea. Now, before I show you this last build, I will tell you I have a couple of other variations I am trying, and it may turn out that in the near future I have to amend this video for finding something better. But as of right now, this is the best version of the build that I've found. We are utilizing all 4 pieces of the Eclipse protocol. However, you notice we are not using either the chest piece nor the backpack talent. We're again going with the Golden Creeping Death to spread the status effects initially. But we are using the Glass Cannon to buff that damage by a multiplicative 25%. So what this means is we are doing the bonus damage from the Glass Cannon. We are initially spreading all the status effects via Creeping Death. And then every time somebody dies, everybody within the 10-meter range will get 50% of that status effect passed onto them, but it will be multiplied by the Glass Cannon. And I find this to be the most consistent damage across the board and the most likely to kill any given target once afflicted by a status effect. The Hive puts out almost 900,000 with the initial blast, and the bleed damage, we're looking at 64,000 as the base. And our Sticky Bomb is putting 1.6 million as the base damage out.
25% complete.
Grenade launch.
Dude, why did my dude jump forward again? Into the fucking grenade. This fucking game.
Complete.
Hopefully that'll kill most of the humans in here. Cool. That's what I need to get the rest of these dudes on fire.
I'll get this agent.
Yeah, buddy.
Drone out. Patching armor. Cover.
Defender drone detected. Rogue Mender Seeker Mine detected.
Put this out.
Dude, that fucking sniper's gonna try to be smart, right? I'm gonna try to be even smarter than that sniper.
Circles my skills. Seeker deployed.
Holy shit, wait. Oh, nice.
Quickly down.
How are we doing? We got 3 more of those. I think I got time. This might be the death of me right here. There we go. I got it. I'm out of ammo. Is it gonna get him?
Target down. Good job. Cleaning up the streets one bad guy at a time. Nicely done, Sheriff.
Really into it. Nice. Oh! Snap! This should be interesting. Fuck it. Start them killing each other. There we go. Alright. Ooh! Shouldn't have stayed up there, guys. Oh! Snap!
Incoming backup request.
Oh, you doing fucked up. Come on, there we go. Now I'm gonna wait. Alright, again. You don't want to wait too long, guys, because they will shake that thing off. And just to quickly show you guys what we are going to be trying here in the future is I am going to be switching out. What I want to try doing is using the system aggravator for the 30% amplified damage in conjunction with the glass cannon 25%. And that theoretically should yield us 55% multiplicative damage. And by doing this, what it allows me to do is then switch out a brand set, so I could put a Golan in any one of these pieces, right, to get our status effects up. Or we could run the Vial, we could run the Imperial Dynasty, or another option is to take less damage but run the BTSU gloves. It may be that simply running with this build, 55% multiplicative damage, along with the ability to always have a fully charged hive, for the most part, a fully charged hive. You guys notice with this, our refill speed is basically cut in half. We're from 2.8 down to 1.4, right? But you notice that our base damage does go down quite a bit when we do this. And of course, lastly, we could just run one GL, one Wyvern piece, and run the 4 pieces this way. So there's a lot of different combinations. So what I recommend is that you guys simply see what gear you have, see what you're able to pull off, and the most important part, make sure you enjoy the gameplay. It doesn't matter if you have an amazing overpowered build if you don't enjoy using it. You know, why play a game you don't enjoy? So see what you got, try to throw something together. I guarantee you guys will have some fun. This is using 2 pieces of the Eclipse Protocol. So this combined will give us a 35% bonus to status effects. We're using a Sacrifice with some status effects and some skill damage on it. Perfect glass cannon. We're using 2 pieces of Wyvern with both status effect and skill damage. Good. Now we're going to add skill tier. We're going to lose the status effect that we had, and it won't spread, but there we go. So now we're down to armor. If we go down to health, so it drops a bit. Alright. Alright, this is the max damage one. This doesn't spread around, but let's see if just... Sorry, it doesn't spread around on death. It does have creeping though. I can do that. It just won't, see, they just die. So this kills every one of them. Anybody gets a status effect and they're basically dead. See ya. Oh, come on. I fucking hate. Oh, dude. Perfect. Oh, dude, you guys are so fucked. Bad news, bro. What you gonna do?
Rogue.
Alright, I quickly wanted to see how the area denial build would do at the end here. And the shrapnel trap.
Hostile protection removed. Detected. Heavy munitions.
Whoops. Alright, that's gonna be good. What's this? I think that there's going to be a bunch of dudes that are going to try to come down right over here. So I'm going to try to leave this right here. Alright. Do this right here. And now go kill this dude real quick and see what happens. How did those dudes all run past my shrapnel traps, dude? That is super obnoxious. Oh, wait, did I just blow some of them up? I'll have to look back on that video.
Hostile protection now removed. Hostile protection restored.
Oh, dude, wrong thing. Here we go, dude. This is gonna be great.
No more contact. All clear.
You just recovered intel that's going to be a whole lot of help to Odessa in the short term, and to all of us in the long run. You also effectively put this hellhole out of commission.
That was awesome. Alright, so right now the max damage we're getting is setting it up with the Everlasting Gaze with perfect perpetuation. Make sure that you have damage to armor on yours. We're doing 2 pieces of Eclipse Protocol. We're doing the Force Multiplier, and you have to make sure that you connect with your target before your the Force Multiplier thing runs out. You've got to make sure to proc it and hit your target within those 3 seconds. And then we're running 3 pieces of Wyvern, simply because these are the best pieces we had. If I had a better glass cannon piece, this could either be Wyvern, this could be GL, or this could be Murakami. Ideally, this would be a god roll. It would be a GL piece that rolled skill damage and status effects on it with glass cannon. And then because it's GL, it would come with armor as the core attribute. I could roll that into skill tier, and then we could switch from technician over to firewall. But this is the best we got right now, so That's how we made it all happen. And this is with 1.69 and 992. And once more, just to see I'm not bullshitting you. Look at that. That's just one shot from the Everlasting Gaze and then one sticky bomb. Alright. It could still get better. There's a chance we could hit 1 million per tick. So this is the trick, guys. For maximum damage, we want to go ahead and run the force multiplier. Do a tap, fire, and then you can just hang out. You don't have to do anything else. Look at this. We can just sit back. Alright. So this leads to other ideas. $900,000? Nah. We just broke 1 mil, y'all. Over 1 million per tick of burn. Alright, agents, thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this. As you guys can see, status effect builds can be extremely potent, and at the same time, it's all about proper positioning, situational awareness. If you're not paying attention to what's going on, you can get taken out extremely quickly, especially if you're using the glass cannon variations of these builds. But at the same time, there are no other types of builds in this game that can decimate entire battlefields, that can basically finish an engagement before it even starts in a lot of cases. So this is in very many ways, a high risk, high reward gameplay style, but it also adds a lot of fun to the game. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. I hope I've earned your subscription at this point. And if there's anything I can do better, anything I missed, anything you guys would like to see, or just anything in general that you'd like to talk with me about, go ahead, throw it in the comment section in there. I try to get through and go through all the comments. Thanks for watching this, agents. You guys be safe out there. I'll see you all in Season 5 in the Dark Zone.